Hello. So this is the final demo for this section of the course, and we will take a quick tour in a SAN storage system. So this is a NetApp SAN storage. I'm logging into it via the CLI, the command line interface. Okay, so let's have a look on the cluster itself. So SAN storage has a cluster. Okay, so let's make a cluster show. Here's the cluster. So this cluster contains two nodes, node number 1 and node number 2. So this could be called a node or a controller. Okay, and each of these nodes are used to balance the load, and some disks should be owned by one of the nodes at a time, and then these are in a high availability pair. So if one node goes down, the other one will take over the ownership of the disks and without any disruptions. Okay, so the nodes, let's see the nodes. Okay, the same result almost with the status, so healthy and eligible to join. Okay, what else? Let's see the aggregates. Do you remember the aggregates and the pool? So the pool or the aggregates are a bunch of disks with a RAID configuration which provides a high availability for our data. Okay, so you can't deal directly with the physical disks. You need first to create an aggregate or a pool depending on the brand of storage you are using. Okay, so NetApp calls it aggregate. Other vendors like Dell, so Dell EMC storage systems call it pool. Okay, so on this system here we have 5 pools. Okay, 2 of them are the system aggregates where the configuration of the storage system is stored. So it's more like a database for the configuration, and we don't use these. Okay, so we could use other types of aggregates that we manually create to start storing data on top of them. Okay, so I've created here 3 aggregates in this storage system. I have HDD 1 and 2, and these aggregates are owned by, so this aggregate is owned by the node number 1 and the other one owned by node number 2. Okay, and this one here has 2 volumes in it. I also have a SSD volume, SSD aggregate, sorry, which contains SSD disks only. Okay, and owned by this node. So let's have a look on the disks. The disk show. So these are the disks here. Disk name or label, the size of the disk, the type of the disk. This is HDD. Okay, and on which bay is it installed? So this disk is in bay number 16, 17, and so on. This disk is now a member of an aggregate, and the aggregate name is, as you can see, the owner. This is the node, the owner node of the disk. You can see also spare disks here, so we will have a greater detail about spare disks, what is a spare disk, in the upcoming sessions. But for now, the spare disk is a standing by disk, okay, waiting for any of these disks to fail to take over it. So if this disk fails for any reason, okay, one of the spare disks picked by the cluster will join the aggregate, and the data will be copied to that spare disk. Great. What else do we have? So these are the HDD. Down there we have SSD disks, and also SSD spare disks. Okay, the same idea. Great. Let's also have a look on the volume. So we create aggregates of disks to have volumes and LANs on top of them. So volume show, these are the volumes we have, and these are the data volumes. Let's have look only on the data volumes. So these are the data volumes here, one on HDD, the other on SSD. Okay, size, the available space, nothing is used now, usage is 0. Great, let's have a look on the LANs. So LAN show, these are the LANs here. So I have one LAN on this system, which is the SSD. I called it SSD LAN 001. The status is online. It's unmapped now. I can't map it here in my lab. The type of this LAN, it will be used with VMware ESXi hosts. Great, and this LAN is a member of this, or contained in this volume. So in NetApp, we first create a volume. We could use this volume directly with NFS or CIFS maybe. And if we needed to create a LAN, then we will be creating a LAN inside of a volume. Great. What else? A SAN storage, maybe it may have network interfaces. Okay, so these are the network interfaces, but let me first show you the ports. So network port show. These are the physical network interfaces on the storage. So these are on node 1, the other on node 2. Okay, so again, this is not a NetApp course, but we're just having a tour in a SAN storage system. So yeah, so some interfaces are used for the cluster itself, for the heart beating and data replication. The others are being used for the management interface of the SAN storage, as well as the data services like NFS and CIFS. So let's have a look on the network interfaces. Okay, great. So now we have, so these interfaces are used by the cluster for the heart beating and the data replication across cluster nodes. Okay, here these are fiber channel interfaces, and these are the WWPNs of the interfaces. Okay, this is also an iSCSI interface. This is a NFS interface. So NFS clients will be using this IP address to reach NFS shares on the storage. And again, last but not least, these are the management interfaces. So each node of the cluster has its own IP address for management. Okay, and we have a shared management interface. This is a virtual IP address. A virtual interface or could also be called a floating IP address that is used to access the management interface of the cluster. So we could reach any of these nodes via that interface. Great. What else to see today in this session? So let's also have a look on the fiber channel configuration. CP show. So this is the WWN of the SAN storage. And let's compare it with the WWPNs. Let me show you network interface, show data protocol FCP. So if you focus here, you'll find that these addresses are similar except for the second octet. So this one is 00, and then the interfaces are in serial 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is the WWNN, and these here are the WWPNs of the ports on the SAN storage side. So since it's a target, do you remember the initiator and the target terms? So SAN storage is a target, and these are the target interfaces. Okay. So if we also take a look at the I group, so what is the I group? It's the initiator groups. Okay, so on the SAN storage side, Again, you need to allow the initiator servers to access LANs. So you need first to register or identify the hosts via the WWPNs of the hosts, okay, to allow the SAN storage, to allow them to access certain LANs, okay, according to our preferences. So on this SAN, I have a single initiator group, which is my E6i host, E6i01, and these are the WWPNs of the host. Great, so that's it for the CLI. Let's have a look on the graphical interface. It's not different, but let's have a look there. Okay, so this is the graphical interface for the management console of the SAN storage. I've typed here the IP address of the management interface. Let's log in here to see what we have. So this is a nice dashboard for the status. The status is green. These are the nodes of the cluster. So this is node 1, and that is node 2, and these are the disks. So node 1 has more disks than node 2. Okay, this is the total capacity of my SAN storage. Okay, you could find some useful information about the performance here. Okay, and also this is a summary of the network. So we have 3 volumes, 1 LAN. Great. Let's take a look on the, so this is the dashboard, the overview of the storage, no configuration yet. Again, let's check the volumes. So these are the volumes we have in this storage system. Okay, same. Let's have a closer look. So this one here, this is the total capacity of the volume, and it's in a thin provision disk. Do you remember the thin and thick provisioning types? Okay, so this one is thin. Let's get back there and check another one. This is the root one. This holds the configuration of the storage system, and the provisioning time for that one, the provisioning type for that one is thick. Okay, let's see the LANs. It's the same LAN. This is the status is green and online. Again, the same information. It's thin, provisioned. Great. What else? And it's contained in the volume with this name. Again, this is the path to the LAN. Let's have a look on the tiers where we can find the aggregates here. So we have the HDD tier, and these are the HDD aggregates we have. And also these are the SDD. This is the SDD tier, and we have a single SDD aggregate in this storage system. What else do we have? The networking configuration. These are the Ethernet ports on each node. Okay, and the speeds. And here we can find more information about the fiber channel ports. Okay, the speeds, the WWPN of the ports. Great. What else? Events and logs, and jobs, sorry. The ports, sorry, the hosts. So these are the SAN initiators. We have a single host identified here, registered here, E6i1. Again, we have the initiator addresses or WWNs, and no LANs for now are assigned to this host. If we have LANs assigned to that host or mapped to that host, we may see them. We should be seeing them listed. Okay, here's the cluster again. The overview of the entire cluster. The cluster is, this is the cluster name. Okay, this is the version of the operating system of NetApp. Okay, here this is the management interface, the DMI DNS server. Okay, here are the nodes in a good shape. You could also make some modifications here to the settings. Okay, that's it for now. And here, yeah, You can see the disks here. Same view. It's seen through the command line interface. Great. So that's it for this lecture. I hope it's been informative, and in the coming lecture we will learn about the data protection. So stay tuned. Thank you. Goodbye.